My name is Sierra Gladfelter, and I work with Tanya Denklakab and others here at the Institute for Engagement and Negotiation, and have been honored to work with a number of you on implementation teams throughout this past year. I'm going to be covering today a couple of tools that we developed iteratively with two locality implementation teams, both Richmond County and Westmoreland County, which you'll hear from later, had identified early on the resilience action checklist the interest and commitment to understanding vulnerability contextually in their communities and kind of working through an assessment and understanding which populations are more at risk and where there's needs for both resilience planning, mapping, and better communications moving forward. So working with Richmond County first and then Westmoreland County, we developed this planning worksheet, and its purpose is to really contextualize natural hazards and their impacts on vulnerable populations, leveraging the local knowledge and diverse, perspectives of different sectors working at the local level. So this is a worksheet that other localities could pick up and implement, kind of work through together themselves. It can also be facilitated, by our team or others. And the idea is really to start with one type of hazard. In this case, the worksheet was developed around flooding, to think about populations that are particularly at risk to that particular hazard's impacts, to use and reference different types of visual planning tools and data layers to help inform that local knowledge where it lands on the ground and where other data can be leveraged to think about, contextual planning more broadly. And then kind of works through this series of iterative questions to help visualize flood risk, identify populations that are particularly at risk, work through where there's data gaps that could help more robust resilience planning around particular impacts spatially, and then kind of work through locality communities that maybe are more at risk, that might have particular needs in terms of communication materials in the case of information dissemination, and help lead to kind of a robust vulnerability assessment and inform other tools like communication strategies, some of the things that we talked about earlier. So I would encourage folks, if you haven't had a chance to kind of pilot this in your locality, to consider working through this worksheet. In the process of doing this with Richmond County and Westmoreland County, we did adapt kind of the format to make it more useful to counties, but would be curious to hear how towns find this, if there's adaptations that we can make, and we see all these tools as iterative. In the process of working through this, we also created an online map. Carolyn Heaps, who previously worked with us at IEN, pulled in a number of federal, state, local, regional data sources and layers that you can toggle on and off on this online mapping platform, which we'll pop in the chat in a second here. That's really focused for the Northern Neck region, and but could be useful moving forward. We also created this data list, which we'll pop in the chat as well. And this came out of this kind of iterative working through this worksheet, looking at this online mapping platform, and localities kind of coming to this conclusion where there's a recognition that really understanding where there's data gaps in general that impede resilience planning, or that could make resilience planning more productive, is just as valuable than another visual platform. And so we created this data list that documents and hyperlinks to a number of the resources that are on that digital map that are also linked to this communication, this planning worksheet. And the idea is that this document can continue to be updated by the Northern Neck Planning District Commission, John's team, and other localities for broader resilience planning, so folks can customize and use different data layers as they're needed.